Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends. I'm your host, Ray Shasho. Sniff and the Tears formed in 1978, and after releasing their first album, Fickle Heart, had a worldwide hit with Driver's Seat, which reached 15 on the Billboard chart in USA in 1979. The band toured extensively following the success of Driver's Seat, including a 2.5-month tour of the States, and performed and recorded together until 1982. In the early 90s, Driver's Seat reached #1 in Holland after being used in a car ad campaign, which introduced it to a new generation and led to the band reforming for a European tour and to make another album. Hollywood films such as Boogie Nights, Anchorman 2, as well as the series The Walking Dead have kept Driver's Seat in the public eye. It has become a perennial favorite, loved by successive generations. Although the band members have all been engaged with other projects in the intervening years, they have stayed in touch and continue to work together. Random Elements, which is one of my favorite albums, is the latest album with a full band. In 2018, Paul Roberts and Les Davidson started performing together as an acoustic duo. The acoustic project marks a long-awaited return to live performance and a new creative approach to Sniff and the Tears songs, old and new. Please welcome lead vocalist, multi-instrumentalist, founding member of the British rock group Sniff and the Tears, Paul Roberts, to Interviewing the Legends. Hello, Paul.
Hi.
You are playing Glastonbury Festival, right?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I've been going there since 1991 with
Uh-huh.
my family, but this is the first time I've ever played there. Yeah, so that's
That's awesome. I think it's is it sold out already? Did I read that somewhere?
it sells out immediately.
Really?
You just can't get tickets. I mean, normally we buy a ticket, but we couldn't buy a ticket this year because it was just sold out. So
Huh.
yeah, which is and happily we didn't have to. So that's good.
Yeah, exactly. I don't buy tickets anymore. I do this for the living, so I get free tickets, which I love because tickets are so expensive nowadays, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Although, it's kind of worth it. It's 3 days of all you can drink and all you can listen to. So, I think it's a big festival. There's a lot of stuff to get around, and you never see everything that you set out to see. So it's
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. And you'll be at the on the acoustic stage, I believe, right?
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good lineup on the acoustic stage this year. So it's quite it's a privilege to be there.
That's exciting. Yeah. I wish it was a little closer to home. I'd be there. I'm going to mention some Sniff and the Tears stuff, of course, naming the bands. Very interesting how the band got named because it was actually Robert's hay fever, right? Because he sniffed a lot. Is that how?
This is true. Yeah, no. At first, I thought I was going to call the band the Tears.
Right.
This was this was actually in the early '70s with another band, but that lineup split up. But yeah, and my manager at the time said, "How about sniffing the Tears?" Because of my hay fever. I thought, yeah, no, yeah, I'll go with that. Why not?
You never know how a band name is going to come about. I never realized that Andrew Giddings was in the band. Longtime member of Jethro Tull and also a lot of other bands.
That's right. Yeah, he was. I mean, at the time, we did when we got back together in the early '90s because of the Dutch ad. We did a tour then in Germany and Belgium and so on, and Holland, obviously. And yeah, and Andrew Giddings was with us, Sandy Giddings. Yeah, he's a great keyboard player. Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, excellent.
He was very young.
Um, Go ahead.
Yeah, he was only 21 at the time, so he's got him early.
You got them early, yeah. You guys, your song, which is great, is when you make a hit song, the movies pick it up. And Hollywood picked it up. I mean, I've interviewed so many guys that their songs have been in Boogie Nights. It's so funny. They did have a lot of great songs in that movie. and also Anchorman 2 and Walking Dead, and that's got to help. And now video games are very popular with music.
Are they? All right. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah. I think the last one the driver's seat was on was called the Citadel. I think it's a sort of a kind of spy uh, thriller kind of program. On
Right.
Netflix. I think.
Yeah, exactly. Netflix revives a lot of songs, so we'll probably be hearing Driver's Seat a lot more. You also made two solo albums, City Without Walls in 1985, Kettle Drum Blues 1987. Could there be another solo effort in the future?
I doubt it. I think it's kind of worked. It's working nicely now. So, I mean, me and Les, the guitarist, are working together,
Right.
and that's great. And we can get. I mean, Nick South, the bass player, actually lives in California. So,
Oh, okay.
these days you can still record his bass. Even though he's in California. So uh, the wonders of modern technology.
It's amazing how many bands are not together and don't record in the studio anymore. Like you
Well,
said,
that's
they're all over the world.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to be. I mean, ideally you would be, in my
Hmm.
view. And if things go well, then maybe that can be put together. But
Exactly.
yeah,
Well, Driver's Seat holds a special place for me because I was a top 40 DJ back in the late 70s, early 80s.
all
And
right.
of course, Driver's Seat was on our playlist, and I played the hell out of that song.
You.
It was one of my favorite songs to play on the air, by the way, And, that was a great time for music and radio. We had the Cars and Donna Summer and, all kinds of, great music
Right.
back in the day.
Yeah, true. And
Even Zeppelin had a top 40 tune on the radio back then.
yeah, no,
All of My Love, I think it was. Yeah,
although they had a policy of never putting out singles, didn't they? That's
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Um, Driver's Seat, which reached, I believe it was number 15, the American Billboard charts. But Driver's Seat is not about what most people think, is it? It's,
It's not about driving. No, I mean it's a kind of euphemism. It just means take charge of your own life. Do you know get your act together, really.
which makes sense if you listen to the lyrics of the song.
Yeah,
But if people want to use it in a car commercial, I think that's okay with you, right?
find them. I guess in a way, when somebody drives a car, they feel they're taking charge of their own life anyway. So
Eh, True, very true. Yeah, never thought about it that way. The odd thing about Driver's Seat, it was not very popular in England, right? When it came out.
well, it started to do all right, and then because the record company, we were with an indie label, what they call
Hmm.
indie labels were the thing in those days, and they had changed. They were changing their distributor, so it was delayed in coming out. But when it did come out, um, yeah, it came out, and we did Top of the Pops, which was a TV program in
Sure.
Britain, which is kind of guarantee almost of charting, But unfortunately, they were just signed to a new distributor, EMI, and the pressing plant went on strike. And literally for 3 weeks, you couldn't buy the record. And of course, people have short memories. I mean, that impulse buy was gone.
Hmm.
But I mean, and also I think the truth of the matter was that it was quite a small label, didn't have a lot of money, so it was sort of, I think we were probably much better promoted in abroad. It seemed to take off in other countries quite happily, but yeah, it's I can't explain it, but apart from the pressing plant strike, but bad luck really.
You know, PR and timing is everything when you release a record, you
I
know,
think it is. Yes, I think it is. You just have to, yeah, things have to fall into place.
right? You have a short window of opportunity, and if you don't take it, and you might miss your chance.
Yeah.
I guess that's what happened. Well, luckily, it was a big hit in the U.S.
And
um,
yeah, I mean, we did very well in Germany and
right,
in other countries too. So it was okay, you know. And in Germany, I mean, I think a lot of people bought the album off the back of that. So you know, because
good.
so that was sort of, you know, I think the album did better than the single actually. So that was a sort of that I don't mind that.
Hmm. Yeah, people don't buy albums anymore like they used to. You know, it's all
Oh, no,
singles. Yeah,
it's streaming, isn't it? So yeah,
yeah.
you like it, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I want to talk about Random Elements. I really liked that album, by the way. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Came out in 2017. You know, it was well engineered and well produced. I think you actually produced that album, right?
Yeah, I do my own production these days. Yeah.
And I love what you say about the album, the explanation for the album in your words. Random Elements is the main lyrical concern in the bizarre state of the world of the 21st century. We crave the certainties of bygone eras, which is true. We search desperately for identity in a world where everything is just out of reach. The nutters are having a field day. Wow. I mean, that's today.
I think it's true. Yeah, I think that's what's happening.
It
Uh,
is. And
and
yet,
yeah, the album was was a bit political in that respect.
yep.
You know that. Uh, yeah, a few songs were anyway. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, it's, you know, this is my favorite quote by you. The last days of the Roman Empire are revisited. I love that, man. You also said humanity is what it is, and this shit won't stop anytime soon. Man.
Well, I wish I didn't think that, but yeah, we seem to always pick up where we left off. You know, and it's sort of, yeah, the progress always goes back into reverse at some point. It's just
It does. It does.
the answers. I think that's the truth of the matter. You know.
You know what's a shame is the news and politics have taken over everything, you know, and it shouldn't be that way. And, you know, back in the day, music took over because we didn't want to hear that crap, you know, and we used to rebel against our parents and, you know, the man and all that stuff. And music it was all about music. But now it's kind of like, why is politics and the news so popular? It shouldn't be, you know, it's just crap.
Yeah, no, we're in an awful dilemma because, you know, stuff goes on, you know, and you sort of think, well, I want to ignore it, but it's sort of there's an underlying kind of anxiety there, you know. I mean, you've got this war, you know, in Ukraine, for instance, and you're sort of thinking, what's the outcome going to be? You don't know. I mean, there's no way of knowing what the outcome is because, you know, Vladimir Putin made a mistake, and there's no way to get back on it, you know. And so all you can do is sit and hope, you know,
Yeah.
and and that essentially you can try and ignore that, but you can't really ignore it, you know.
You can't ignore it. Even if you think positive about life in general, it's still hard. You know, you got to turn off the news, number one, because that's not going to help.
Yeah, you could sort of, you know, put yourself on a desert island or
Yeah,
something.
I know. Exactly. Or just meditate all day. How about the cover of the album? Talk about the cover.
Well, the cover is a picture I did of a sort of a small boy. You know, I mean, you know, when you're a kid, you dress up and you've got a gun. You know, I mean, I was the fastest gun in the West without a doubt, and uh, and all that sort of stuff. And so it's that sort of, and then you sort of think, oh, you grow up, you leave all that behind. But unfortunately, not everybody does.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
so it's that kind of infantile mentality, you know, where you assume a certain power and grandeur from bugger all, basically.
Yeah. I like the way your mind works. You're very, I don't know, astute, poetic, you know. You need to write a book. That's next.
I have tried it 2 or 3 times, but that's a big undertaking. You always sort of you always think, oh God, this has got to be rubbish.
You can do it. Hey, look, these are my books. It just takes time. It does take a lot out of your life, because that's all you think about for a couple of years, but it's fun. After it's all done, it's quite an accomplishment.
Right, okay, so you're a writer as well then.
I am. Yeah, I'm pushing a TV sitcom. I'm, trying to get that done as well, but a comedy.
Yeah,
It's going to be based on my first book. So I've been talking to a lot of people on that, but there's a lot of competition, of course, in Hollywood.
sure, yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, very, very difficult. I'm going to talk about some tracks on that album because I did like that album. Take Me Home, awesome guitars. I like when you incorporate the background vocals on some of these tracks. I really enjoy that. And of course, I love it when you put guitar. You're doing a lot of acoustic stuff now, but I do miss the guitar, the electric guitar. You know.
And on the acoustic gigs now, and the last couple we've done, Les is playing electric as
Oh,
well.
good, 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 good.
I mean, we haven't got a rhythm section, so you can't go too far on that.
Right.
Yeah, it's like some of the songs sort of need that, and
Sure.
he's a great guitarist, so so it works.
Exactly. You know who you sound like a little bit on that song? Al Stewart. Art a little bit of Al Stewart in that, like time passages, that kind of thing. And the track like Zen, that's a very cool track. The intro sounded like Steely Dan, kind of a Steely Dan feel.
Well, I would hate to rip off Steely Dan. I do like Steely Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With so much music there, you can't help but sounding like somebody else in certain parts of songs. It just, it's normal.
I think so. It's not a crime to sound like somebody
No,
else. Yeah,
it's a compliment, I think.
not to.
um, would you consider your group yacht rock, or do you think you're a little bit more?
I,
I don't
I,
know.
I must say I'd never heard that expression until maybe a few years ago,
Right.
and yeah, I mean, and I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to mean, other than kind of a polished kind of uh, thing. I mean, I remember Toto were described as yacht rock. I mean, Toto are a band of great musicians. I mean,
Hmm.
that's yacht rock, then nothing against it, But yeah, I mean, there's no intention to do that. That's not. I mean, I don't think in those terms really.
Well, what's
Uh,
cool about that, they put you in a group, like for the cruises, they have the Yacht Rock cruise, they have the festivals, Yacht Rock fests. I mean, there's a big, there's Ambrosia. I mean, the list is really long of, great bands that are in that category now. Unfortunately, everybody puts musicians in categories now and bands, that's just the way it is.
they always did, but yeah,
Yeah.
this was, that's that was the problem when we first came out. It was punk, there was post punk, there was new
Right.
wave. Where were you? Where did you fit in? So uh, it's always been a problem. Um, yeah, I just think of music as music. I mean, I either, you know, if I like it, it's good music.
Right, right. Good musicians, number one. That's what we're missing nowadays, especially on commercial radio, or those proficient musicians, you know.
Well, I think a lot of, yes, obviously a lot of music now is well, not to say it's got bad musicians, but it probably hasn't got musicians at all. So it's
Exactly. The
probably a,
great guitarist, that type of thing.
yeah, 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 that's
Yep.
true. I'm sure they're still out there. I think maybe just not so well known. You just have to.
Yeah, they're hidden. I mean, if you go on YouTube, there's a lot of great musicians out there, but nobody knows who they are.
Yeah, I think that's always been the case, though. That I've always, I mean, over the many years, I've come across so many great musicians. You
Hmm.
should know, don't, they're just not everybody gets that recognition.
Exactly. Exactly. Night Flight, very cool song. Kind of a beachy mood for some reason on that
Well,
track.
yeah, Night Flight is actually kind of curiously relevant because it's about fleeing from conflict. So you
Hmm.
imagine if somebody has got to, you know, pack up and leave their home, to get away from war and or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's about that, and it's about the conflicting thoughts in your mind as you go about uh, that journey, and I suppose it's kind of about the hopes within that. So it's a sort of it's a kind of meditation on what that might involve.
Great tune. Love it. Um, you got to talk about this one, Bring Out the Dead. It had an awesome intro that reminded me a little bit of Yes from, Lonely Heart in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Um, great rhythm. Talk about the Bring Out the Dead.
Well, Bring Out the Dead was, it was obviously just, just sheer horror at what's going on in the world. I
Yeah.
mean, it sort of starts off, about the idea of, I suppose the autocrat, the guy who wants the power and the privilege and the money and all the rest of it. I mean, um, yeah, that recognition. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention Donald Trump, but he's a fairly obvious candidate. And,
Because he's got
um,
the money and he wants the power.
but I mean, yeah, he's called Vladimir Putin a genius, So you sort of think, my God, geniuses like that we don't need. But
No.
so that song is about all that stuff, and
Right, right.
in the end, what it leads to, which is destruction, and and probably death.
Yeah. The Putin thing is mind-boggling, how long their little war has been taking and, and what is it all about in the first place? What are
Well, I
they
think
doing?
the problem was, when in 2014 he invaded Crimea and got away
Right.
with it. And he then thought, well, he just thought it'd be, well, they've just got this clown, who's an actor
Yeah.
running the. He didn't have a puppet in there, so he just thought it'll be a doddle. We'll walk in, take over, we'll be hated in the streets. Didn't happen.
No.
I think he must have been very shocked.
Yeah. The Ukrainians are tough, tough cookies. They
Well,
really are. Yeah. They're very impressive people, you
yeah,
know?
that's right. I mean, whatever, and it's the thing I find most disturbing about it is how he's able to completely misinform the Russian people
Yeah.
through complete control of the media, and and they just take that bullshit, and or maybe they have to. I mean, I'm sure they don't all. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of young people who know it's bullshit, but what are they going to do, other than leave the country?
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah. It's
it's
very scary, when you can have
scary.
control of the media like that. And
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, it's also scary with with politicians now being able to lie without redress, without any kind of shame, and get away with it.
yeah.
I mean, I find that equally disturbing.
How about
Um,
this new thing coming, the artificial intelligence that's going
well,
to be
yeah,
happening? It's going to be worse.
well, possibly. Yeah. I mean, we don't know. I mean, that's and this is the problem. We don't know what's what anymore. I mean,
No.
you don't know. You read something. You sort of read something. You don't know if it's true or whether it's a I mean, I'm constant. And I don't know about you, but I mean, over here, constantly getting scam phone calls, messages, all this
Here
sort of
too.
stuff.
Yeah.
Constantly having to deal with that crap, and you just think, oh, these days you don't have to. shin up a drain pipe to burgle a house. You just sit at home and play with your computer.
Right. You're absolutely right. You know, everyone's getting hacked, stealing money
Yeah,
from your account, you know?
all that. And so we live in with a huge amount of you know privilege, but also a huge amount of uncertainty. So
Yeah.
all these conspiracy theories, so you if you people can believe what they want to believe, and that's sometimes you sort of at least you look back on the past. I mean, there's always been bad things have always happened, but
Right.
in the past you kind of knew, you could make a choice whether you went with it or not. Now you don't know, you know.
Well, the most horrible thing I think in this country are the shootings in the schools. I mean,
But that's the gun laws. I mean, I must admit, I mean, I would think twice about wanting to live in the States because you just think that's crazy, that anybody can go in and buy a gun. I mean, we get a lot of knife crimes over here.
really.
It's happening amongst kids, mostly gangs and so on. But uh, and obviously you say being stabbed to death is not much better than getting shot. But on the other hand, you sort of think, well, what would these kids do if they had guns?
Yeah.
It, it would probably be worse. So and also, one of the things you notice with the school shootings and so on is it's usually some kid with a problem
Right.
basically, and the other kids. Well, that boy needs help. He doesn't need a gun.
Right.
Some and basically, I mean, America's I don't know how many countries allow that. Not many, but you certainly should not be able to buy an assault rifle.
I agree with you 100%. That's not necessary. You know?
You defend your house with an assault rifle. What, are you being
Right.
attacked by hordes or what? I mean, in this country, you can get a shotgun license to
Right.
shoot. You can kind of understand that, and a
Sure.
shotgun is potentially a deadly weapon. Sure,
It,
you need a license. So
actually, a shotgun would scare somebody probably more with the loud noise, you know?
yeah, yeah. And but yes, no, an assault rifle. There's no point. I can't. The only point you can think of is the manufacturer wants to flog you one.
Yeah. You know
Really.
what happened here in Florida now? You know, you had to have a permit to carry a handgun. Now you don't need the permit anymore. So anybody can carry a gun here without a permit, which means they don't even go through training.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how can you feel safe with that?
It's the
You
old
don't.
West. It's like cowboys back in the day.
Back in the day, there were a lot less people.
Yeah. And everybody was drinking whiskey. Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's crazy. We're going backwards here, just like your songs say. Maybe that's why I like the music so much. Back to some of the tracks. Okay. We find a way. Again, I love the lyrics. When the odds are against us and nothing to say, we find a way. So there's some optimism there, huh?
There is, yeah. I mean, I think it's just that in the face of all this stuff, I mean, the primal, needs in life, to love, to be loved, to enjoy your life.
Right.
I mean, those are things that we can all access, one way or another within, with to some degree or another, and so yeah, and it is about that. It's about sort of yeah, we find a way to access these things. Otherwise, what would be the point? There would
Exactly.
be no point.
You know, as you
Uh,
get older, that's all we want anyway. There's less conflict. You know, you don't want to get in any arguments. You just want to have peace, quiet, and enjoy your life. You know?
no, that's it.
Yeah. A woman of passion. That reminds me a little bit of Dire Straits for some reason, which I
Uh,
love.
not intentionally.
Well,
No,
I just hear these things in my head because I've, there's
uh,
so many bands in my head. I just, things come to mind.
yeah, that's that's actually quite an old song that I never recorded.
Really?
Uh, yeah, I wrote that probably 20 years ago, but
Hmm.
and I just thought for this album, I just thought, oh, actually, no, why not do it? It's not a bad song. I've got a lot of songs that I never recorded. This is the problem.
That's
To be
good
honest,
news.
I'm trying to find. I'm trying to. We got a 40-minute set at Glastonbury,
Right.
and you've got 200 songs. What are you going to do? Cut it down to 10 songs maximum. So it's difficult.
If you were a prog rock band, it'd be one song. Man. Okay, my favorite song on the album is Following Rainbows. I
Okay,
love that song.
I'm really glad you said that because yeah, that's to me is an important song. I've yeah, I mean I'm thinking of putting out a new version of Random Elements, to be honest, because there's a couple of songs I left off the original version. And I thought, why the hell did I leave them off? I think it was because I thought, well, if we wanted to do a vinyl, but
Right.
I mean, who buys? Well, I know people do buy vinyl these days, but
Yeah.
anyway, so I might do that. But yeah, no, Random Elements. Sorry, Following Rainbows. Yeah, that again. That's I mean, you can see, from the lyric what it's about. It's about that search for identity.
Hmm.
And I think it's very important in this age. I mean, especially with the internet. There's this sort of smorgasbord. I think people sort of feel that there's a lot of things open to them, a lot of possibilities. And this is kind of especially kids,
Yep.
and that's so sort of tempting and so difficult, to
Hmm.
actually achieve. So it's sort of about that search for identity, I suppose.
Yeah, you say we are all more connected than ever before, but also more isolated. It's true.
Well, that's it. That's exactly what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And again, you got the background singer in that track, which I love. I love that. Back is it? How many singers are there? Just one, or is it?
Uh,
It's hard.
on that particular song, I think it's probably me doing the harmonies. So it's yeah. But
Huh.
yeah, on the album that we had, I got a great set. Helen Hardy, who did a lot of
Right.
the vocals, and uh, yeah. Otherwise, I think it was mostly me. I don't know. I haven't got the credits, so I should have a look at that.
Hmm.
I hope somebody's some terrible injustice.
Well, they did a great job, whoever it was. um, I love the album. I'll give it 5 stars because I think it's a very very good album, and it should have been promoted more.
Look, I mean, yeah, I mean, I basically, the album is distributed through Ace, which is the old record company
Right.
that originally did, our stuff, but it's just a distribution deal, so they don't
Right.
do it and do promotion. But um, look, it's it's difficult. I promote on Facebook, which is
Hmm.
possibly not the best way to do it, but it's a way, and you just have to hope. But I mean, it's interesting. It has been getting some hits and stuff on. It's getting streamed. Some of those songs,
Hmm.
particularly I think "Take Me Home," probably because it's the first track, and so uh, yeah, it's a different world. I mean, I think it's more important for a lot of people now to get out and play. Then you're gonna
Yeah.
get interested to get things moving. Um, Yeah, no, I mean, I'm very pleased you like it because you're the first person who said that, so that's great.
I think you should reissue Following Rainbows and do a really cool video with that. Like you said, do a new version of it, maybe.
Well, I've got a better mix of it actually, which so yeah, I mean, it's worth doing. Yeah, it's worth. I mean, video is obviously the other thing. Yeah, YouTube is a
People
good.
love videos, man,
They do,
with
and
music. Yeah.
I know. We, you know, the videos we have had, you know, it's like the driver's seat video was a terrible video because it was right at the beginning. It was dirt cheap. I mean,
Right.
we did it in ITN Newsroom, which is a news channel, TV news thing, and um, and the guitarist was off playing another gig, uh, so Loz had to be both guitarists. You know, it was tough, but you know, but it's been hit on YouTube millions of times. So
Oh my God, I saw that. Millions of views. You can
yeah,
reissue that tune and do it again and with a new video if you wanted to. I think it would come back. It's timeless. It's a timeless hit, you know?
it does seem to be, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just yeah, people like it. It's got an energy, I guess. So yeah.
I'd milk it for everything you could. That's what I would do. Why not? It'll be in more movies. I also listen to Jump, which is all acoustic.
That's
Um,
right.
did you get any influence from Bob Dylan in the past? Because with the acoustic, it kind of reminds me of maybe you had hints of Bob Dylan or something like that.
I probably wouldn't be doing this at all if it wasn't for Bob Dylan.
Really, really.
When I was a kid, I mean, you know, I was a big fan.
Mm-hmm.
Teens. I like the blues and Bob Dylan,
Yep.
and yeah, I think he radically changed the way people think about rock music. Really, you know, because he added lyrics, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that went beyond sort of Moon and June, and you know,
Right.
that was a new thing. Um, yeah, no, huge. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm influenced directly by him, but certainly influenced in terms of that example. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but the acoustic, yeah, it was because we had a couple of shows in Holland, and uh, and the guy said, "Oh, you should put out an acoustic, you know,
Right.
album or something to sell, you know, at the gigs," and you know, it was very cheap and easy to do. I mean, we did the whole thing live. None of it's, you know, we just sat in a room and recorded it basically.
Huh.
So
Some of the two tracks on that, we hold on. We hold on even when they let us down. I mean, I love your lyrics. One track I want you to talk about was "Pray." Talk about that.
Ray was on originally on Downstream, which was came out in 2010.
Right.
Um, and that song, you know, I think I really like it acoustically. Actually, I think it works acoustically,
Mm-hmm.
even on the album in some ways, um, on the you know the original version. But I mean, it's about climate change. You know, I mean, it's as simple as that. It's like, you know, um, we're living our lives. You know, we're you know the car, the holidays, all the rest of it. You know, meanwhile the earth is the world is in crisis. Uh, but we are essentially ignoring it, and you know we know it's happening, but we're hoping somebody's going to do something about it.
Yeah. Isn't that always the way? Somebody will take care of it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we're not going to go on holiday or drive a car, you know. So it's about that conundrum, and yeah, it's just it's as simple as that, and
Hmm.
so yeah, I wanted to sort of yes. So what are you going to do about it? Well, pray, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. What else can you do, right? That's our contribution. Pray.
You know, basically, you know, corporate greed is essentially what you're up against,
Yeah.
and that's uh, that's not going to go away. You know.
It would never go away. It's always been there
Yeah,
since the beginning.
yeah.
Yeah. Nightlife has some really cool lyrics. I did like that track.
My life, yeah. That's from the Games Up, which is the second album we made, which is
Hmm.
1980. Um, yeah, that was about a band on the road and at a loose end, you know, in a city on tour somewhere, and you know what rock bands, you know, after a gig, you have that adrenaline. You want to go out and sort of see the sights and so on. You know,
Right. And actually, driver's seat acoustically sounded great. I was surprised. Sounded really good.
did a sort of slow version of it. Yes,
Yeah, a slow version of it, but it sounded fine. You know, it worked.
we still do it the fast way, but you know,
Yeah.
there's. I just thought for the album, you know, I just thought,
Oh yeah, you gotta put that in there. Talk about Marrakesh. Is there some you know special thing about Marrakesh? Because I mean, did you visit Marrakesh and you had a great you know
well, I
experience
have
there? Or,
no. I mean,
no?
I have visited Marrakesh. It's Marrakesh as a concept more than anything else. I mean, you know,
Okay.
it was the heart of the Moroccan kind of, you know, it was where all roads led to, you know, in terms of trade and so on and so forth. So you know, you know, it's a wonderful place to visit. You know, it is great. I love Morocco. It's beautiful. But the so it's essentially, you know, it's a song about you know, searching searching for a light in the dark somewhere, you know, that's all. So Marrakesh is your way out, you know.
Hmm.
That's that sort of, that little shaft of light that you head towards, and also it sings nicely, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I need to go visit those areas. My father's family was from Syria,
Oh right.
and my mom was Cuban, but her family was from Spain, and then they migrated to Cuba. But I've always been interested in the Middle East sound. I love Middle Eastern music.
Oh well, I mean Marrakesh, you know, if you
Yeah.
go you go to if you go to Marrakesh, I mean they have this sort of market in the center, square, you know,
Hmm.
all these drummers I mean, you know, it's a cacophony of incredible, you know, incredible music just going through the night. You have to be careful not to take any photos because they will demand money.
Really?
but
Huh.
but
Interesting.
it's kind of it's high class busking, you know. But
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
no, no, it's great. And you know, yeah, no, I've been to Morocco a few times. It's
Huh.
really yeah.
Have you been to Istanbul as well?
No, I haven't. I've never been to Turkey. No, that's
Okay.
that I would love to. Yeah, interesting.
I got a friend that used to live, one that lived in Istanbul. He loved it, and another one in Ankara. That
Mm.
and they always talked about Turkey as a really cool place to visit.
Oh, I think so. I'm sure it is. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I've got three daughters, and they've all seen a lot more of the world than I.
Really? Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, because travel these days is so much easier and cheaper than it used to be. You know,
Yeah.
so
How old are your
uh,
daughters?
they're all in their 30s now. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
grown up.
My daughter's 36, and my son's 32, 33.
Yeah.
And I've got five grandkids. How about you?
Well, I've got one and another one on the way.
All
So
right. Awesome. That's great. There's nothing like grandkids. I used to make fun of people always talking about their grandkids. Now I'm one of those people.
fun without the responsibility. That's it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And I love to babysit.
No, it's
So-
lovely actually. I've enjoyed it.
yeah, they're fun. Some of the other big hits by Sniffing the Tears, One Love, Hungry Eyes, and this is one of my favorites. And this talks about everything you've been talking about, Black Money.
Oh, yeah,
What a
yeah,
song, man. The lyrics in that is incredible.
yeah. Thank you. No, I mean that lyric that was written about the Iraq War. I mean, not, you know, although it could apply to you know,
A
anything
lot of
going on.
things. Yeah.
A lot of it was basically, yes, it was the Iraq War. Yeah, George W. Bush and Tony Blair in yeah, crazy, and they didn't plan. You know, they just went in, and we've been living with the consequences ever since, basically. Yeah.
So the lyrics, the politicians tell us how it's time to milk this sacred cow. They drop their bombs where children play. They say it has to be that way. You're right. That's a great line, man. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's what people. Yeah, it's how people justify that crap. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. They tell you, well, look at Vietnam. They told us we have to be there, and it has to be that way.
Exactly.
What do we get out of it? If you look at Vietnam today, I mean, it's a huge city, man. It's a big tourist destination,
Yeah, yeah. No, it's
fully
true.
built up.
No, I mean, you can't rewrite history. I mean, people do these things for the wrong reasons, and they come out with the wrong result.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, like you said, greed, money, it's all behind it.
yeah, yeah, I do think it is. You know, I mean, I think maybe what Cheney and Rumsfeld were really after was the oil.
Mm.
But who knows? I don't know.
Somebody made a comment on YouTube a while back about that song and had a different interpretation. She said they should have played this particular song as loud as possible at the protest when our economy crashed around our ears and the huge financial institutions threw us all under the bus. So that was her interpretation.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's a valid interpretation.
Exactly. Yeah,
So, yeah.
that made sense too. Well, what I understand, you're an incredible painter, and you actually did all the album covers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Incredible. Do you paint a lot? I mean, is that something part of your day every day, or?
Not every day. I mean, I do still paint. You know, I mean, I tend to kind of oscillate between the two. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
at the moment, obviously, we're just coming up to Glastonbury, so I'm probably
Right.
doing music. But yeah, then I've got a portrait I've got to do after that. So yeah, I will. I do paint. I've just been painting some Camargue
Mm-hmm.
uh, white stallions.
Really?
Yeah, no, horses, beautiful horses, and these wild horses are they're kind of yeah, they're sort of there's a word, but they embody everything. You know, that sort of the flight and fright, fight or flight,
Mm-hmm.
uh, nobility and vulnerability, and yeah, it's all there in horses, and we use them for that. You know, but
Mm-hmm.
beautiful creatures.
Majestic. They're very majestic creatures. Yeah,
To me,
love
they
it.
represent more than just
Riding, horseback riding. You actually sell posters of your work, right, on your website?
yeah, it's prints, well, and
Prints.
posters. Well, the posters tend to be, I've done posters for the album covers, but any of the paintings I can do as prints, you know, sort of quite good high quality prints on, good sort of cartridge paper, you know.
So if somebody wanted to buy an original painting by you, could they? Could they do that?
Yeah, sold it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
Yeah. I'm friends with Annie Haslam from Renaissance, and she paints.
All right.
And I've already promised her I was going to buy one of her paintings. But I love your works as well. Very, very different. Yeah. You're quite an artist. Okay. Touring. Are you going to do any more touring? And what about a new album?
Oh yeah. Well, look. I mean, yeah. I've got I've got new songs. I've got new. Uh, you know. So yeah, the album is just a question of time,
Okay.
and definitely, yeah, will definitely be a new album, and touring. Yeah, I mean, it's just a question of if the demand is there, we'll be there. You know, we want to play. I mean, we've both been really enjoying it because one of the nice things about just touring as a duo is it's much more intimate in terms of the way that the audience is listening.
Hmm.
It's not because if you go out as a band, you know, there's kind of, well, you know, am I going to bop to this or not? You know, it's kind
Right.
of whereas with these you can kind of you can vary it, and people will listen. So I think they get the songs and the lyrics a bit better. So I've been enjoying it really. It's
I think you got a lot of fans here in the United States that love your music. I really feel that, and you get a lot of great comments on YouTube, and you know they call you. I guess they call Sniff into Tears kind of an underrated band. Probably should have got more recognition. You know,
there's a lot of that has been said. I mean, it's the music business, and especially in those days,
it's tough.
it was tough because I mean most people are concerned with selling whatever is kind of is selling.
Hmm.
It's a commercial enterprise above
Oh
everything else.
yeah, oh yeah. Actually, you're very lucky with Driver's Seat because if you look at the Hot 100 in Billboard from 1979, you're up against some really heavy competition, man. you know?
I was told that there was one weekend when Driver's Seat was the most played song on American radio,
Yeah,
which I thought, oh, well, that sounds impressive.
yeah.
It's on radio, yeah.
The two songs I remember from radio days, that and the Knack, My Sharona,
That was a big hit at that time. Yeah.
also a big hit. Yeah. All right, here's your final question. And I get some very interesting answers from people. Okay. If you had a Field of Dreams wish like the movie to perform, collaborate with anyone from the past or present, who would that be?
To collaborate with.
Yeah, or, perform with, share songwriting duties.
Oh, oh God. I there's a lot of people I could I mean, but this is the thing. It's not sort of I've never been much of a kind of
Collaborator.
collaborator in that
Yeah.
respect. It's I'm not sure I feel qualified to collaborate. Too sort of stuck in my own furrow.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but yeah, so I don't really know. I can't off the top of my head. I mean, there are plenty of people I hugely admire. I mean,
yeah.
but,
How about
whether
Dylan? Write a song with Dylan?
I can't even imagine it.
I could imagine it, I
He
could see that happening.
doesn't co-write though, does he? I mean, I can't think of many. I know he
Probably
did.
not, but it's a fantasy, so anything goes.
No, no. I mean, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to rain on his parade. He's there's nothing that he does that I think I could particularly kind of improve on. But uh, yeah, and in terms of yeah, I can't. No, That's not a question I can answer. I don't think. Um, yeah, I'll probably think of something later on, but
yeah,
my head I
I
can't.
get Paul McCartney as like the number one answer.
Is he? Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine that. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you people I admire, but yeah, I'm not sure I would collaborate with them because I sort of feel I see them as as a whole. I mean, they don't need me.
Besides Dylan, who was like your early influence?
Early influence.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I learned the guitar with the I bought myself a Lead Belly songbook.
Oh, okay, cool. You like the blues?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I and then there was another, and this you find hard to believe, but my mother had an album, of Burl Ives songs. You
Oh
remember
yeah, folk
Burl
guy.
Ives?
Yeah.
It was sort of all these folk songs, and some of them were great folk songs.
Yep.
So I learned a lot of songs from that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was sort of like that, and then when I sort of got into bands and so on, yeah, there's a lot of people, that they're fairly obvious things like the Rolling Stones and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But then that all goes back to the blues, so it's all and a lot of that rock music from that time, certainly in this country, came from the blues, which was a sort of '60s
Mm-hmm.
thing, that which I mean, I think the Rolling Stones sort of educated a lot of Americans to what they
Right.
had already in their own country, didn't know about, people like Muddy Waters. And, I mean, if you look at my record collection from those days, and I still got a lot of it, yeah, I mean, Sonny Terry, Brownie McGee, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Lightning Hopkins, that's what I was listening to.
Yeah,
And
it's interesting how, the black culture, or the ones who invented the blues, and you could even say rock and roll, and then it went away for a while, and then the Brits brought it back and made it popular. And I always think about, like John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, and
yeah, but
people like that.
I mean, they were hugely influenced probably by Tamla Motown and all kinds of,
Exactly.
yeah, no, black music from that era was totally responsible for,
Exactly. There would be no Led Zeppelin without it.
there wouldn't be any of that. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's and I think it's interesting, that it was. I'm not saying it was forgotten. I mean, it obviously existed in America. I'm sure there were people there who liked it, but then, that Britain, because sort of somehow it sort of took off here, uh,
Hmm.
young people in a way that it hadn't in America. So
True.
so you had Presley, which obviously we all know about, but then you didn't know so much about Little Richard and Chuck Berry
Chuck
and Bo.
Berry. Yeah.
So it's all it's
Without Little Richard, you probably wouldn't have the Beatles. You
well, I
know.
was going to say, yeah,
Yeah.
McCartney is certainly influenced by Little Richard. I mean, I think who isn't, but not that I've ever tried screaming myself, but
You know what Elvis said? This is true. He told Tom Jones this. He says that Chuck Berry, not Elvis, was the king of rock and roll, and that came from Elvis.
well, yeah, I totally understand why he would say that. I mean,
Yeah.
Chuck Berry. I mean, the Rolling Stones without Chuck Berry would not
Right.
be the Rolling Stones. I mean, the that whole sort of dun, 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 that the whole riff
Yeah.
is. I mean, he gave you rock and roll guitar.
The
With
guitar. Right.
the guitar, and also the lyrics were brilliant. I mean,
Yeah.
he was a great lyricist, very witty.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's hugely. I mean, no, look, I mean, Chuck Berry did pretty well. So in the end, and until he got to My Ding-a-ling.
And I think that was his biggest hit too.
Yeah, watch out for your biggest hit.
It's funny. I got a jukebox behind me, and I have my ding-a-ling on it. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. The British artists, man. I talk to a lot of legends, and they never give England enough credit for music, and it pisses me off because number one, Skittle music, that was the Brits, and number two, progressive rock was only the Brits. You guys invented that, man. You
Yeah,
know.
and it's look, it's a sort of roundabout, and I mean, it's like if you take punk, for instance, I mean, you could say the Sex Pistols, but you could also say there was a whole lot of things going on in New York
Right.
before the Sex Pistols, which was doing the same thing. So it's a mix up, of things. I mean, back and forth. I think what happened with you talk about progressive rock, I mean, what happened in America was a kind of commercialization of that, in the sense that with
Hmm.
whatever sort of so I mean that was when music got huge. I mean the
Right.
arenas and so on, and that was sort of I mean the 70s was, I mean the 60s was the sort of was really quite small. I mean, I saw Dylan
Hmm.
on that tour where he with the band, where he did an acoustic set and an electric set, and apparently got booed.
Yeah.
In Cardiff, which is interesting, which is where I saw him.
Hmm.
He got booed, but I mean, Uh, I mean, it's very different. Uh, what was I going to say? I've just slightly lost my train of
Talking
thought.
about progressive rock.
Oh, progressive rock, yeah. And anyway, so the whole progressive thing just sort of basically took everything massive. And what I was going to say was the Bob Dylan concert was on in a place called the Capitol Cinema where the Beatles played and the Rolling
Right.
Stones. It held 500 people.
Hmm.
That was actually the size of things in those days.
Sure.
And you went from that to stadium rock, and obviously
Hmm.
that was obviously in America. So that's where the big money was. I mean,
Yeah.
so Zeppelins and the Yeses and the Genesis, they made their money in America. That was where that was
I
thing.
was a bigger fan of British music than I was American music growing up as a teenager. Because I did grow up with Jethro Tull and Yes, Uriah Heep, Pink Floyd. Those, all my heroes, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah.
there's there's been some great bands. I mean, I think Free is a band I never understood why they weren't a lot bigger than they were.
Yeah,
They were
you're right.
a fantastic band.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with you.
yeah.
Well, Paul, thank you so much, man, for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
No, I enjoyed it. It's yeah, it's
You're a guy I've been wanting to talk with for a long time. You reminds me of the good old days of radio. I want to mention you can purchase Jump by Sniffing the Tears and Random Elements, one of my favorite albums. You can get both of them at, I guess, www.sniffinthetears.com or amazon.com. Probably make more money on your website, right? Than you would Amazon.
no, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah, yeah. Amazon don't pay that well. You're right. But
Yeah, they take a lot out of me with my books, man.
but on the other hand, they reach a lot of people. So
They
I
do.
guess
They do. And you can go to your official website. You're on Facebook. Go to YouTube. See all the great hits by Sniffing the Tears. I'm also publishing your discography for Sniffing the Tears and mentioning your solo albums as well, so everybody would know all about that.
oh,
And I hope to see you in the U.S. again one day, huh?
I'd love to. Yeah, no, I mean, actually, yeah, it's we only toured there once, and it would be
Really?
yeah, it'd be nice to go back and play some smaller venues.
That'd be cool. There's a lot of great small venues here in Florida, and people still love the band. They really do. I could see you on a cruise, one of those music cruises. Would you like to do one of those?
It's not something I've ever thought about.
Right.
It's
They're so popular, though.
are they? Yeah, yeah.
Very popular.
Okay, well, yeah, yeah. Maybe I should. Anyway, we're sort of, at a very late stage in our lives. We're sort of starting off, so we don't know where we're going at the moment. But yeah, all we know is we do want to get out there and
Good.
do it.
You guys got a lot of talent, and we'd love to see you out there, and definitely a new album. That'd be great.
I promise you that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it, man. My best to you and the family. Bye bye.